My roommate is a vampire. Chapter 9. Secrets and Lies. It was pretty pathetic of me to even try. Lest I forget that Vinyl was a vampire, gifted with super strength. She was right there to remind me, holding me away with one hoof as I attempted to whack her to no avail. I instead resorted to flailing my arms like a mad mare. You done? What do we do? What do we do? I shrieked, shaking Vinyl. She pushed me off and slapped me. First off, calm down, she commanded. I gawked, touching my cheek. Now, just hear me out for a sec. When I tried to speak, she pressed her hoof to my mouth. Listen, your mom only saw us making out. She fell silent for a second. How is that a good... She shoved a hoof in my mouth, hushing me, her ears twitching, craning her head towards the door. You hear that? I shook my head. No pony heard screaming. That's good. Now listen, we've got about 3 minutes before your dad starts asking questions. I blinked. This was certainly not the Vinyl Scratch I had been talking to a few seconds earlier, vulnerable and screaming to her bloodlust. And she was most certainly not the loud and proud disc jockey either. This was another side of Vinyl Scratch, calm and collected and cool. It was unnerving, seeing her like this. In a way, I was frightened. She was emotionless, pragmatic, almost methodical now. She didn't see your fangs, I started. Oh, your eyes. It was as if a huge load had been taken off my back. Vinyl shook her head, grateful as well, and for a second I thought to myself that things were going to be all right. Then reality came crashing down upon me like an anvil out of some cartoon. Reality was a cruel mistress. By now she knows I'm a filly fooler, I gasped. I'm doomed! She'll disown me! Vinyl rumbled, rubbing her forehead. Look, either we tell her the truth... She trailed off. Not a chance. Her expression darkened. Then you're going to have to cover this up. Help me move her body. The more I thought about it, it dawned on me that there was more to her than meets the eye. It was almost as if I was looking through the iridescent lenses of Vinyl's sunglasses, putting on a different pair and looking at her from a different angle each time. Hey, Vinyl's stern voice shook me out of my thoughts. I can't move your mom's fat flank all by myself. Even as she said this, I could see her smiling. What are you doing? Hiding the body, of course. I gasped. Kidding! Her eyes were lit with amusement. I'm kidding. Your mom will be fine. I sighed with relief. Mostly fine, I think. I glared at her as I helped position her in a way that suggested that she had collapsed near the sink. I cringed as I held my mother's limp body, dragging her over. Are you alright? Me? I cracked an unstable grin, quaking. I'm fine. You're shaking, she said. What are you talking about? I laughed nervously, rubbing one leg against the other. Just sit down. When I refused to oblige, she forced me down onto my haunches. Relax. Breathe. Okay. Vinyl muttered to herself. I get queasy at the sight of blood. Yeah, that'll work. Vinyl? She ignored me. Your mom came in here just as you were helping me out, and one of the employees had... Her eyes wandered, and she spotted a vase of flowers. Using her magic, she yanked the wilting lilies out and dumped the water all over the tiles. Had mopped the floor and forgotten to put out a wet floor sign. And she slipped, bumping her head against the edge of the sink. Vinyl, I don't want anybody to get fired over this. Do you want to do this or not? She said coldly. I was shocked. Yes! Then work with me. Now. Had to explain what she saw. Aha, she was drunk. Something tells me this isn't your first time doing this. I received a grunt in response. Drunk? Under the influence of alcohol? I interrupted. One problem with that, Vinyl. She wasn't drinking. We're going to have to roll with it. Before I had any time to even inquire as to how she was going to convince every pony, including my mother, that she had been drinking enough to have been hallucinating, she continued. Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to scream as loud as you can. In 15 seconds, ponies are going to come flooding in here asking questions. I nodded. There was no point in asking, and I wasn't going to get a straight answer if I did. So I was just wasting my breath. I realized a long time ago that Vinyl was as sly as a fox. Keep your mouth shut. Not a word. Let me do all the talking. Look scared. She counted down for me. 3, 2, 1. I let out the most terrified, blood-curdling scream I could possibly muster, my mind flashing back to when Vinyl had lost control and attacked me. Vinyl mouthed, "Very nice." I was surprised to see tears running down her face until she winked. Perhaps you should have gotten the cutie mark in theater arts. And lo and behold, in 15 seconds, several ponies came rushing in, including the manager and my father. I was crouched down by my mother's side. Vinyl tearfully explained to them what had allegedly happened, including a dramatic recreation of how my mother slipped and bumped her head, and they added up. Hook, line, and sinker. I would have been so impressed if I wasn't worried for my mother. Don't get me wrong, just because she was my mother didn't change the fact that she was a pompous, overbearing wretch of a mare. But... She grabbed my hoof, jerking her head towards the exit, mouthing, "Come on." They say blood is thicker than water. "Thank you," I said, "for everything." We moved like shadows through the night. I clung onto Vinyl as she led us back home, her sharp eyes accustomed to the darkness. We stopped. Vinyl stared at me for a bit, probably wondering why I was in such a wistful mood. I smiled back at her earnestly. "No problem," she said slowly. "I don't know what I would have done," I stammered. She kissed me. "Don't mention it. Really. And, sorry for decking your mom in the face." "It's quite all right. I think any sane pony would have done that a long time ago. Although I'm not sure it was such a good idea. But, you can't always run from your problems, Sorry? It's not like you can keep it a secret forever. That you're a filly fooler, I mean. Your folks are gonna find out eventually, one way or another." I studied my hoof contemplatively. Did I really care if my parents knew? Would it change anything between us? Was it worth keeping all the secrets and lies just to hide something so trivial about our relationship? I shook my head. Like it or not, nearly all of my employers were Canterlot nobility, and it wasn't fair to the rest of the quartet for me to ruin our jobs. I huffed. "We all have our secrets. I guess I'll have to learn to keep one too." Vinyl paused. "See, the thing about secrets is that they don't stay secret for long. I mean, look at me." She laughed wearily, her eyes red and her fangs extended. "Even if that is true, I can still try." We climbed the stairs, tired, burnt out from the evening's events. "Vinyl, would it be okay if I asked, how did you get this way?" Vinyl laughed bitterly. "A vampire, huh?" She turned to me. "Maybe you'll get your answer someday." I felt compelled to comfort her. I hugged her, as tight as I could, whispering sweet nothings into her ear, promising to never let go. "Octi," Vinyl gasped. "Could you let go?" We both stirred in each other's arms, our coat and manes messy and unkempt, and disheveled. Ding dong. "You get it," I grumbled, pushing Vinyl with my hoof, not bothering to open my eyes. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. "Vinyl, get the door," I demanded. "No, you." Without warning, I shoved Vinyl with my hoof, watching her tumble and roll over the edge of the bed with the sheets. I had overlooked one slight problem with my solution to our more pressing issue of who was at the door. I found myself being pulled along for the ride, tangled up in the blankets, yelping as I landed right next to Vinyl on the floor. She stuck out her tongue. "Ha! Owned." "Shut up." We untangled ourselves, giggling. I squealed, even louder when I felt Vinyl nip at my ear and shoved her away. I smoothed out my mane and cleared my throat as I went down the hall, with Vinyl standing behind me as I opened the door. Hello, I was sent flying, bowled over by the rude guest with a bright flash. "I... photo finish!" have arrived!" cried a voice with a thick accent. I craned my head up from my vantage point on the ground, feeling the onset of a splitting headache. "Photo finish?" "It's a traversity is what it is," Hoity-Toity remarked as he looked around the room. "Hoity-Toity?" For most ponies, meeting these two fashion magnates would have been a prestigious honor, and would have included a reaction of screaming, squealing, and jumping up and down. In a way, we are all celebrities. My name had meaning, at least. It used to. In music, DJ Pony was a household name nowadays. Hoity-Toity had his own line of designer suits, and Photo Finish her own magazine. I was hardly impressed, nor awestruck at their appearance, merely surprised as to why they would come make such a personal visit. I had met both of them before on numerous occasions, at many of the venues I had performed at. They were both eccentric, and rather unconventional in how they conducted business and went about with their public image. "Hey, Mom," Vinyl laughed nervously. "Hey, Dad." My eyes bulged, and my jaw dropped. "Mom? Dad?" As they all had their little family reunion, I couldn't help but stare. It all made sense now. I stared at all three of them, my eyes growing more and more aware the longer I stared, as I could see the uncanny resemblance. "Come, come, sit. Make yourselves at home. Vinyl, can I talk to you?" I asked cheerily. Dragging her by her mane into the kitchen, I hissed at her. "You never told me your parents were Hoity-Toity and Photo Finish," I said through gritted teeth. "You never asked." She shrugged. Never before had I wanted to hit her so badly. My eye twitched. "Weren't you paying attention last night?" I took a slow, deep breath to regain my composure. "Do they know?" She gazed at me, her purple eyes flashing red for a brief moment. "Yes, they do," she admitted. "Really? Try not to call us vampires. Dad thinks of it more like a condition than anything." "You mean your parents are?" I gasped. She nodded. Photo Finish was a vampire. Hoity-Toity too. Sweet Celestia, they were all vampires. It was like they were all one big, happy, blood-sucking family. So that explained why Photo Finish was always covered up in some gaudy dress wherever she went. And the sunglasses. The room was spinning. I felt confused, deceived. A week ago, I could barely comprehend the existence of vampires, and now it seemed they had been able to infiltrate the top echelons of equestrian society. I was in over my head. This was crazy. Non-stop insanity since I got involved with that insufferable DJ. What a fool I'd been to get involved in all this madness. "You know we wouldn't hurt you, Octavia," Vinyl said honestly. "Right. Of course. Where did I put the silver?" The first thing that came out of the fashion photographer's mouth when she saw us together was, "Oh, you two make such a wonderful couple." I paled. "I assure you that Vinyl and I are nothing of the sort. Give it a rest, Octi. They already know." Vinyl sighed. I blinked. It was a strange feeling. Being accepted. Not being judged. Being allowed to be myself. I relaxed visibly, no longer feeling the need to put up false pretenses for the sake of appearance.
"So, you are the filly who has stolen my daughter's heart,"
Hoity-Toity proclaimed dramatically.
"Very classy."
"Quite the catch, dearie." He winked, tilting his shades. "Thanks, Dad." Vinyl beamed. "So very nice to meet you both."